When I discovered this rule, I went from having zero success with girls to getting so many that I had to cut some of them off to make time to eat because I was hanging out with girls so much I was missing meals. So it wasn't always like that though. When I was in high school, I was a shy introvert who was terrified to talk to girls and plagued by cowardice. So I would never take action on any girl that I wanted to speak to or do anything with. I even told a story one time on this channel where I had a girl who I liked who liked me even at my house, and I couldn't even take action and kiss her then. So that was pretty much my starting point. So it wasn't always like I was just swimming with girls and having all this success. The first kiss I had was in senior year, and that even wasn't something to be proud of because I was just at a party with my friends and they set everything up for me and they threw me into the situation, so all I had to do was just actually kiss her. So at 19, this was pretty much just continuing with a little bit more success, having, broken down some of those barriers. All I was doing at this point was relying on luck of circumstance or easy introductions from friends and friend groups or mutual friends, whatever it was, to get girls. Still not having gotten with that many or having that much success, but doing a little bit better than in high school. So this all changed when I read How to Win Friends and Influence People, and I really took on learning about social skills, communication, and when I was 20, I went to Sweden for the first time, applying everything I learned in that book into real life, going to clubs by myself, trying to meet people, trying to date girls, and do all this stuff for the first time. And let me tell you, I was going out alone, but I had the best wingman ever because Dale Carnegie did me well. So in this video, I'm gonna teach you some of the things that I learned in that book and give you the most valuable piece of information from that book and give you some real life examples to back it up. So the most important thing that you can take away from this video is when you're talking to people, specifically girls, you don't need to try and impress them with anything that you have, any accomplishments, anything about yourself. This is only going to show insecurity, whereas if you just focus on placing the attention on them, you come from a confident standpoint, and all you're there to do is just have a good time, be a genuine person, and make them feel special and pay attention to them and give them that validation they're seeking, they are going to love you. People really just want to feel special, and if you can be that person who allows them to feel special, who engages in conversation, it's meaningful, it's not just surface level, and you can really engage with people in that way, you're going to be seen as very charismatic, very interesting, and people are going to love you as a result. See, growing up, I always thought you had to be, the funniest guy or the best looking or whatever the situation was and meet certain specific criteria. And that is the furthest thing from the truth, because I'm actually a little bit on the shorter side. I'm about 5'7", 5'8". I do feel like I have pretty good looks and a good physique, but that was something that I always let hold me back when I was younger, was my height. And after all these years, I've literally slept with girls who are 5'11". So if that doesn't disprove that, I don't know what will. But just going into the interaction, being a normal human being, just genuinely seeking to get to know that person is gonna get you so much further than you could ever imagine. So now I wanna dive a little bit more into getting girls specifically and how you're gonna use what I just told you in order to understand some of the psychology behind it and what you're actually gonna do when it comes to getting girls. So I got a bunch of notes for you here. I got this prepared. I'm gonna give you guys a bunch of value. So the first thing you need to understand is when you're doing this, you're gonna focus on not placing too much value on their looks. See, when you go up to a girl, let's look at two different situations. The first one, a guy comes up to her and he says, "Hey, I think you're super beautiful. I just wanted to introduce myself." You basically started off the conversation validating the most valuable asset she has, which is her beauty, which is what she's been relying on her entire life, what every other guy has been interested in, versus the guy who comes up to her, asks her her name, and wants to just get to know her a bit and know her as a person. Now, obviously you started that interaction because she's beautiful, right? You wouldn't have gone up and talked to a girl because she's ugly, but you're getting to know her a bit beyond the surface level. So in situation one, the girl knows off the bat that if she said to him, "Do you want to get out here and go fuck?" he would say yes. In situation two, she's seeing that, well, maybe he would say yes, but also he might say no. He's actually trying to get to know me. He wants to see if, you're basically just placing more value on yourself, showing that you don't just sleep with any girl. You don't just want to sleep with this girl even if you weren't that type, it just comes across the wrong way. Whereas now, if you just come across as that friendly guy who gets to know people, you're gonna have so much more success with girls. Your level of value is gonna be perceived as much higher because you're coming to them as an equal instead of starting at a place of inferiority, showing that their looks are so important. So that's the example I want you to keep in mind. And now as I go into this, just keep referring back to the idea that you're placing your value as an equal when you're starting out, just getting to know them as a human being and not as a girl, and not placing so much value on their looks like they're this thing that, you know, it's the most important thing when it's not. Because let's take another example. Would you marry a gorgeous 10 out of 10 if you knew nothing about her? She could be crazy, she could have multiple personality disorders, she could have so many different things. She could have chlamydia, she could have AIDS. Would you marry a girl just based off of her looks? No, right? So why would you do that, kind of have that mentality when it comes to approaching girls? Looking to have more of the qualify first mentality is gonna get you so much further. And it works in your favor in every single aspect. So if you just come into the conversation as a normal, fun guy, and you're looking just to get to know them, kind of qualify them in your mind as someone who you would actually want to sleep with, have as a girlfriend, or whatever the situation is for you, this is just gonna be your biggest, this is the biggest mindset shift for me at least, that allowed me to start getting girls consistently and really just having it become an easy process, not even having to try so hard. There is no brutal rejections with this because you're just getting to know someone. And if they don't want to get to know you, it's like, okay, well, I didn't even really put myself out there that much. All I did was just introduce myself the same way I would introduce myself on a sales call, where if the person doesn't want to buy, it's not a brutal rejection. I'm just doing what I do. I'm just out there, you know, trying to make a sale. And it's the same thing now. It's like I'm just trying to get to know someone. It's not like you're placing all this value on, this is the most beautiful girl, I need to make this work, she needs to like me. When you place too much value on things, whether it's beauty or making a conversation work, it just makes things more difficult in life. And this is something we can touch on at another time. This comes from the book Reality Transurfing. One of the key concepts in there is importance. The more importance you place on something, the harder it is to actually get that thing. So when you take away the importance of beauty and just focus on the person, by utilizing what we're talking about from Dale Carnegie's book of not trying to impress them, not trying to place their beauty as the most valuable thing, but actually just placing the attention on them as a person, getting to know them, seeking to learn more, having a deep, meaningful conversation, these girls will then want to sleep with you, I promise, because I've done it so many times. Time and time again, this is my play. I just go up to girls and I say, excuse me, what's your name? They'll tell me their name, I ask them where they're from, we start talking a little bit, and another question I normally ask is, do you go to work or do you go to school? So by that point, I've gotten enough information, had a long enough conversation where I can understand their level of reciprocity and see if they're actually interested in it or not. I mean, it's very easy. Over time, you'll learn to pick up on the cues, the body language, the eyes, their tonality, how they're physically interacting. All these things really matter. So you'll understand if a girl likes you very quickly or not, and if you can continue this conversation, or if you just want to part ways and say, it was a pleasure to meet you, have a great night, I'm gonna go do something else, right? Where you can understand that, so you're not getting brutally rejected, you're not having any really bad interactions, you're just introducing yourself to people. And girls sometimes will tell you, you know, I have a boyfriend, you're like, okay, awesome, have a great night. All you did was ask her name. It's not like you went out there and you're like, you're so beautiful, and it comes across as a little weird, right? That's at least my opinion. So that is pretty much all there is to it. And if you don't think, like one of the probably the most common things where I might have thought this when I was younger is, if you don't think that you're communicating enough interest in order for girls to want to sleep with you, that is completely wrong. Because single girls, they want to have sex too. They want to have fun. They want to sleep with guys. It's not just like you want to sleep with girls and they don't want this back. You just need to position yourself to be the guy that they actually want to sleep with. And by doing this, this is putting yourself in the best possible situation for success. Let me think of one story off the top of my head. All right, so I'm gonna give you a story where I didn't even sleep with the girl, but I'll just give you the rundown. So this was back in Sweden about 2-3 months ago. I went out to the club by myself as usual. I'm online. As I always say, I'm always talking to people no matter where I am. So I'm in the line, some girls come behind me, I start chatting with them. There's two of them. They're both pretty girls. We start getting to know each other. And I honestly thought that the one, let's just use, there was a brunette and a blonde. The brunette was communicating quite a bit of interest to me, and the blonde not so much. So we were just hanging out throughout the night, and I asked the brunette, I was like, what are you doing after this? I was trying to make my plays, and then I was trying to get her snapping and take her home later. And she was like, no, not me, but my friend. What do you think about my friend? And just by being a fun guy who I was hanging around with them, the brunette was trying to set me up with the blonde friend. She was single, she wanted to sleep with someone. Just by being out there, talking to girls, being a normal, friendly guy, not over communicating interest, saying, oh my God, you're so beautiful, this, that, and the other thing. They just were like, oh, this is a cool guy, you should sleep with him. Unfortunately, in this situation, things didn't work out. I mean, they have millions of times, but I just want to give you a quick example that came to mind. But just seeing how, if you're just out there putting yourself in different situations, meeting different people, getting into different friend groups, there's going to be plenty of girls who find you attractive, who find your aura of confidence, of just being a social magnet, of getting to genuinely know them, very interesting, where your looks are good enough, especially if you're looks maxing, you're improving your physique, you're improving your mindset, and doing a lot of things like reading, meditating, journaling. You are going to be a very interesting person. You just being yourself, whilst getting to know someone, placing a lot of the attention on them, obviously answering some questions about yourself, you don't have to say nothing, is going to get you so much further than you would imagine. Girls are just going to be like, oh, well, this is a cool guy, he's on his path, he's, successful, you should sleep with him, right? And that's what's happened. And whether it's the girl that I physically approached, or her saying, oh, but look at my friend right here, she's single tonight, she wants a guy, you just putting yourself out there, and you'll start realizing the abundance of opportunities that will arise for getting girls. So this is all it comes down to. That's my game. This is what's gotten me from that shy introvert to literally having so many girls. There was a week when I went on a date, I slept with a girl, I went to the club that same night, slept with another girl, came back, went to that first girl's house who I slept with. The next day I had another date, slept over her house, came back for a date with the original girl, went back to my place later that night at like 12 o'clock. The next day had a date with a third girl. I'm telling you, like, it was crazy. I genuinely didn't get to eat. When I told you that earlier, I was not lying. That was the truth. I wanted to save this for the end for the real ones. Don't want to be telling the whole world that. But that's a true story. This was in Sweden about a year and a half ago. I genuinely missed meals. There was times when I was going hungry and I was at these girls' house trying to grab some food when they were in the shower or something, because I was genuinely missing out on meals. I was like, I hope it's okay, I took an apple or something. I was so hungry because all I did was just hang out with girls this whole week. So it was crazy. And this is all from using that game. I wasn't going up to these girls telling them they're beautiful. I wasn't doing anything besides just getting to know them, just saying, the little things. And of course, you can use these things, you can say they're beautiful later on in the interactions. What I'm talking about, and when you date them and do all these things, but what I'm talking about is the initial phase, the phase from when you first meet someone. That's when you should not be saying these things. You should not be over communicating interest then. You should be seeking to qualify them as a partner because you have such high value on yourself as a person, where you don't just want to sleep with a girl because she's beautiful, because you've been with every beautiful girl. You've already been with all the beautiful girls. You don't need to sleep with more beautiful girls. What you need is a quality beautiful girl in your life. If you come with this mentality, you're going to have so much more success. It's that abundance mentality. It's the mentality that girls will find extremely attractive when you're not just out there trying to get some pussy, but you're out there kind of trying to find a wife. Even if you just end up sleeping with them, which I pretty much do a lot of the time, and you can utilize this in many different ways, but you go with that mentality and that's going to get you so much more success than you'd ever imagine. So that is all for this video. If you need help with dating, if you want help with anything that I cover on this channel, I offer a free 30-minute coaching call where we're going to dive into your current situation, all the aspects of your life. We're going to look on how we can improve them, figure out what your dream life is going to be, and then we're going to give you actionable steps in order to achieve that. If that sounds of interest, then book a free coaching call down below. I also have a free, or not a free, I have a paid school community, sorry. In there, we're gonna be covering all the aspects that are on this channel, giving you my unfiltered take on all these things, all my knowledge, no gatekeeping. If that's of interest, then check that out as well. That is all for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you like this and you want to see more about dating or life maxing in general and improving in every single aspect of your life, then subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.